Hello again, and welcome back to my channel. I'm D-Alecia. Just bear with me as I get into this. This is probably my second video, and but we're gonna get into this. So if you're like me, you enjoy baking, or you might just be starting out and you're wondering, some of the least things that you need to get started. I am going to tell you about some things. For me, I travel back and forth between some islands in the Caribbean, and sometimes I plan on baking because sometimes the spur of the moment you just want to get something done. And don't mind me, I'm just looking at my notes. Sometimes you're traveling and you don't want to weigh yourself down, but at the same time you want to save a buck. You don't want to spend too much money, and you're thinking, okay, what am I going to put in my suitcase that is not going to totally weigh me down, but at the same time I don't want to go to another island and buy a lot of things that I have to throw out. So I'm going to share with you some tips that I have, and we can turn, you're not planning to do anything too much. If you can see, this is a cutting board. We're gonna use the things that we have, okay? This that I baked was a red velvet cheesecake, okay? So we can get it done with only a small amount of tools. And here we go. All right, so this here is basically the things that you need. Don't weigh it down too much. So the first thing you have is a whisk, which is important because this is what you're going to use to mix everything together. So yes, you want to need some elbow grease. It might take a little time, but definitely important. Next thing is to have so you're going to need tools to measure. I brought with me, this is a 1/3 cup and a 1/4 cup, but really and truly I should have taken a 1/2 cup measuring container. And if you are very patient, honestly, you can get away with only using the 1/4 cup, which is what I ended up using to do all my measurements, all my powder measurements, my 1/4 cup. Of course it's going to take a little bit more time, but you're trying to have as little things as possible, okay? Next thing, a spatula. If you don't have a spatula, honestly, you can leave this out and just use a big spoon. If for my situation, I am being housed in an apartment, so there are certain things that you expect to be there, certain utensils. So of course, use up your spoons if you don't have a spatula, and spoons do make great designs, and at some point I'll make a video on some of the techniques that you can use a spoon to do. Of course, you need a sieve. I have brought a small sieve as it takes up less space, or sometimes you can use pre-sifted flour. Me personally, whether it's pre-sifted or not, I'm going to sift it again because I want what I'm making to be as smooth as possible. Next, you may want a bowl. You may not always want to take a bowl with you. And the first time I traveled, honestly, I used a pot. I used their pot, which, preferably honestly, if you have one of those insulated or coated whisks, then it's safer when you're using a pot, but use what you have. The other thing was to take a 1/2 teaspoon measuring spoon. You don't need to take anything else than that. Then when it comes to ingredients, what are the things that you need to have? Do your research. What's your recipe? Which recipe are you going to be using? So you don't want to be taking too much spices than you actually need. And my advice, as I said, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit cheap, but it's not just cheap, it's being responsible with your money. And if you have a sweet tooth and you enjoy doing something, try and do things to save money. So for me this time, I actually pre-packaged my flour. I pre-packaged my flour. You can pre-package your sugar, but take just a little bit extra. You're making allowances just in case something happens and you need just a little bit extra, you need to start over. So pre-package your powdered things. Or sometimes when you have spices, and if you can get them in these small containers, so that it's not too much to take around, okay? As well as, okay, icing. I know pre-packaged icing doesn't taste all that nice, but if that's the direction you want to go, there are always your pre-packaged icings that you can use. This particularly is a writing gel, right? This is purple, and I got this for I think around $5, $3 to $5 in the supermarket. If you're planning to make any designs on what you're creating, as well as, okay, now all the times that we buy other spices, particularly liquid, we like to throw away our containers. This particular one is plastic, a plastic container, and it's small. So what I'll do sometimes when these go empty, I'll keep it so that I can, when I'm going to be traveling, I can just pour a small amount that I think I'll need into it, and I'll take that with me. All right. So anything that you're gonna need to put in the fridge. Personally, for me, I know my plane duration is only gonna be about 20 minutes. So if I have something extremely cold, I will take it with me. Otherwise, you're gonna need to get some things at the supermarket, such as your eggs, your cream cheese, your butter, and some other things that you might need, like your disposable baking tins. For me, it's less than $1 for a small baking tin. Sometimes it comes in pairs and it's like only for $1. You may need oil, and the oil that I got is this size. But as I said, you have some small packaged ones, so you try and purchase only what you think that you will need, or a little over what you need. You don't always have to have a baking spray. I have one with me, because you can use flour and butter to grease your baking tin to prevent it from sticking. And basically, really, that's all that you really need. So as I said, research based on your recipes, what you will need, and you can really turn something into a masterpiece. Okay, so I forgot, but you know, you can use, I wouldn't really advise it. I would try and get a measuring container, but if push comes to shove and you can, then these will work. Okay, yes. So yes, I did create, imagine I created this cake from just those things. Right now I'm actually going to be just breaking up some cookies just to finish the topping of my cake. And I say, you try to do things that are going to be less expense for you. You realize that sometimes buying a whole lot of baking accessories, such as your sprinkles and those highly decorated things, they may cost you a certain amount, but you can use small things such as your snacks. If you know that you like Oreos are awesome when it comes to decorating. So I'll soon show you what I'm doing. And I say, wherever you are going, just utilize the things that are there. Right now they have a cutting board, and that's what I use to help me ice my cake. I place it on a bowl and then put the cutting board on top, and you know, that was my turntable. And here we have it. So it's just a small decoration that's there. Of course, you can use, let's say, use what you have when designing your cake. When you have to level it, of course, just break up some of the what you've shredded off the cake and use it as your garnish for the top. So there we have it. It's just a small amount of things that you need to still enjoy yourself, still be able to satisfy your sweet tooth in a way that you want. And if you like what you've seen, don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and come back for another video. Toodles. And comment. Don't worry.